With the permission of the chair, we move to the second presentation, that is by Professor Dr. Abhishek Ghosh. Professor Abhishek Ghosh is the Dean Faculty of Dharma Studies. He is a distinguished scholar in the field of Hindu studies and has been known for his innovative approach to education. Professor Ghosh is active in interfaith engagement and has contributed numerous articles and book chapters. I request Professor Ghosh to kindly present about his faculty and research.
We have Professor Bhagyashri somewhere here. She teaches, is to tell stories. And I want to start my presentation by telling a little story, if I may. This was in 2008. And I was in Mumbai to meet with some friends who were enthusiastic about supporting my research, which I had just started at the University of Chicago. And the journey began by asking a very simple question. What is intercultural translation? That means when, say, an American student comes to our Vidyavihar campus, what are the assumptions that they have in their mind that makes them judge Indian culture differently than how we see ourselves? And when Hinduism goes to Europe, America, in nations and countries that have no exposure to our culture, how are we received? So I was teaching a range of courses, and somehow Dr. Shantilal Somaiya and then Samir Somaiya became familiar with what I was doing. And I had the good fortune of meeting Dr. Shantilal Somaiya. And I was teaching courses where I asked questions like, the courses were titled Hinduism 101. And in the United States, when you say a course is 101, it means a basic undergraduate level course. So I was teaching a course called Hinduism 101, Cows, Caste, and the Kama Sutra, ? Because you went into, if you walked into an American classroom, everybody somehow thought that India is all about cows going on the streets, right? And it's just about caste. Everybody has a caste. And you're born into a caste, and you're doomed because of your caste. And so I was doing these courses to probe them, to question assumptions about ancient India. And then I had a course on modern India called Modern India 101, Cricket, Curry, and Call Centers, ? Because somehow the Americans have this idea that India is about curry and call centers. And they can't think beyond stereotypes. And so stereotypes are an important aspect of trying to decode intercultural translation. And so I did a case study on Vaishnavism, because Vaishnavism, by some peer-reviewed standards, is about 68% of Hinduism, which is about 800 million people. And it is the third largest religious tradition after Roman Catholicism and Sunni Islam. And Vaishnavism is also one of the most popular diasporic as well as kind of evangelical representation of Hinduism in the Western world. And so that's what I started writing about. And then my long journey has taken me to interculturally translate all of the 20 years of work that I have done in trying to understand Vaishnava studies, which is a small part of Dharma studies. And Dharma studies, as I came here, I began to explain, consists of how we, Bharatiyas, Indians, understand the phenomena of human religiosity. Because religious studies is a distinctly Western phenomena. If you do a religious studies course, you're going to have to study Durkheim, you have to study Freud, you have to study all of these Western thinkers, but you do not study the Bhagavad Gita. You do not study Samana Suttas. You do not study the Dhammapada. You do not study Guru Granth Sahib. And how can you do religious studies if you ignore practically 1/3 of the world's population? So I felt that it was important to do Dharma studies, and I was one of the early members of a group that pioneered Dharma studies in America in forming the Center for Dharma Studies, which is a part of the Graduate Theological Union, which does the most amount of impactful research in the study of religion on the planet. And then after 10 years, when I got an opportunity to be here, I realized that there is no other program in this country that is equivalent to what we have here. Hindu studies, Buddhist studies, Jain studies, with yoga as a separate component that's shared between the three. Focus on Pali, Prakrit, Sanskrit, under one umbrella of Dharma studies that has come up with the new university. I saw unlimited potential. And so Dr. Shantilal Somaiya had asked me to work with him and for him in 2008, and I sadly had to politely decline. And then our Chancellor Samir Somaiya had asked me several times, and I said, I'm doing something, give me some time. And I kept saying no, but this time he showed me the Sanskriti building. He said, this is what I have done. And Abhishek, we are hiring deans and we have multiple applications for every position except for the Dean of Dharma Studies. So I said, I'll recommend somebody. I'll think about it because I cannot move. My kid goes to school in the US. It's unethical to yank her out of school. And so I said, let her complete at least what she is doing and then I'll think about it. He said, chalega. So that's why I signed up and I'm here among you. I just want to make it personal because research at the end of the day is very personal. And I've committed 40 hours a week to Somaiya Vidyavihar University. I actually spend more than 60 hours. And I am up 4 a.m. in the morning because it's 3 p.m. your time. And then by 4:30 I am in meetings till 12:30 p.m. And then I sit down and process everything. And that's how I keep the ball rolling. And as I began to speak to various deans, members of faculty, students, I began to realize that there is one thing that can bring Dharma studies in conversation with some of the other interesting research that is going on in this university through the medium of research on leadership. Because at the end of the day, whether you're running the School of Civilization Studies, whether you're running engineering, whether you're running management, whether you're running music, the one essential skill that everybody needs is leadership. And very often we find ourselves in leadership positions, but we are not fully prepared for it. That's how I felt. And I realized that if you have to master anything that you don't perfectly know, sign up to teach it. Take a year to research it. Prepare a curriculum. That's why I'm doing mindful leadership now that Professor Mod spoke about. That is one area where I'm lacking. And research means you don't know yet. And research means you will find out. And so I am shaping my own personal research around mindful leadership so that I can mindfully let all of my other faculty kind of establish their leadership and their ownership of what they are researching. And so you see the numbers on the slide, and in a few slides you will see how much I have accomplished in the last 3 years. These are some of our, I don't know why they put my name there, you will see in a couple of slides why I shouldn't be there, but some of our star researchers in the department. We have collaborations, we have Professor Iturbe sitting with us today, a gem among us. Thank you for being with us. And boy, after I've joined Vidyavihar full-time, I was staying on campus for a couple of weeks. Immediately I was sent off to Kazakhstan after, 13 years. And there are so many opportunities to engage in interfaith activities. And I think doing interfaith is a great way to think through some of the core principles of human engagement in the field of religious studies and in particular Dharma studies. We of course have many other collaborations, and I don't want to read slides in front of you, you can read it yourself. That's the digits for the last 4 years. Take a moment. And that's my record. I told you. No, I'm kidding. I have published about 4 volumes. I publish 2 volumes a year, where I bring together with a team about 30 international scholars to write on specific subject matters that shapes the direction of research in my particular field. As I speak, we have a volume coming out on Vaishnavism and world religions. And in June this year, and the volume is complete, we have another volume coming out on Vaishnavism and politics. So I have requested our library to subscribe to the journal. Unfortunately, I'm a senior editor, but I don't own anything, so they have to go through the formal channels. But I encourage you to take a look at them, and you can see the kind of research I'm doing. You don't have to do my research, but please take that as an example of what is possible and do something better than I am doing. So that's my request to our faculty of Dharma Studies. We have, I think we had 2 presenters earlier today who got massive grants to do Indian Ocean Studies and art. And we have a continued relation with Central Sanskrit University, who has been a knowledge partner and has been very generous with us. Professor Kalachari, is she here? Okay, she's been working on a project right now. I always see her at the library typing away. These are some of the projects that have come up, and you see CSU Delhi repeated 3 times. Right? That tells you how critical they are to our intellectual life here. I want to thank Professor Reshma Kamble for always chasing us and making sure we are meeting deadlines. And the DAC has happened, and she was panic calling me, and I was with the Consulate General of Sri Lanka before I could come here, so I ran. So thank you for making sure our research is on track. Good research happens when there is good administration also. So thank you for that. Yes, big hand. These are the core research areas of the institute. And as you can see that, at Somaiya Vidyavihar, we have a kind of a liberal arts education, but our buckets in which we fill these are different from Western models. There is a dean of languages and literature, there is a school of civilization studies, but the languages that are most critical to studying the dharmic traditions of India are housed under Dharma studies. That's the logic behind having them there. The Bharatiya Sanskriti Peetham was the inaugural institute, and from what I have heard, Dr. Shantilal Somaiya wanted Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, Muslim, Christian, Zoroastrian traditions to be a part of this program. But the Dalai Lama came and started a chair, and that's where the Buddhist studies came out of Bharatiya Sanskriti Peetham. Then after that, Jain studies was born. After that, yoga studies became a part of Sanskriti Peetham, and after that, the IKS, the Indian Knowledge System Nodal Center, started here. And I want to finish by saying that at the Academic Council meeting in this year, we tabled a few items where I said that it is practically unavoidable at this point to have some kind of a center for Sikh studies and a center for tribal studies coming up as a part of Dharma studies, because as you know, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, but more importantly, the indigenous traditions of India that were there before have to be studied academically, and I think that is the future of our research at the KJ Somaiya Institute for Dharma Studies. Thank you so much. Yes, if you have any questions, please fire away. Yes. Can we please have the microphone?
Your department name is Dharma Studies, right? So you're using Dharma in the limited sense of religious studies.
Not necessarily, no.
So is it like, is it a broader than that? Like
Absolutely.
So
I'll tell you why.
yeah.
Ancient Indian architecture, archaeology, art is a part of Dharma studies. Not everybody who studies that does it from a religious lens, right? If you want to limit Dharma to only Indian traditions, we wouldn't have the wonderful students that we have doing Sufism, studying Sufi shrines.
No,
So-
I saw a few slides from before you
Please.
complete. You can couple both the answers together. Like I saw you are comparing Vaishnavism with some other type of religions. So Dharma is
Which slide are you talking about? I can pull it
You
up.
had one slide, yes.
Keep going back.
I think. Yeah, in one of your slide, also you made multiple comments about the
Which one?
Vaishnavism with the other religious studies, right? So dharma is a completely different word, and when you are using that to couple many other religions, so I don't know whether the study actually refers to the specific meaning, what people usually get.
I thank you for that's a brilliant question. Thank you for asking that. There is a narrow definition of dharma, and then there is a broad definition of dharma. At a very narrow level, dharma is religion, or at least it's translated as such, but I think it's a bad translation. Dharma also means whatever holds. So, for example, the word religion comes from the Latin religare, which means to bind, which means it binds something together. So, dharma is that fabric, the dharma is that factor within the social fabric that holds people together. And if you have seen the growth of religious studies in the Western world, there is one quote by Professor Jonathan Z. Smith, who was one of my teachers at the University of Chicago, who said, "The study of religion is to study the passion and drama of what it means to be human." So, religious studies is the study of human religiosity. But, as I said, it is a Western paradigm. We're doing something similar, but from a more indigenous paradigm. That's number one. Number two, when we think about the word dharma, and I'm talking about it in the broader sense, the dharma of sun is to shine. The dharma of water is to flow. The dharma of the stars is to twinkle at night. So dharma in that sense is the essence, the nature of something. Right? If there is a great book from the 19th, there's a novel from the 19th century, Bengal, called Jaiva Dharma, Dharma of the Soul. And I have two friends who have a killer course, and I'm trying to bring them to India if I can. They run the course called Career Dharma. They go to these American colleges, and they help kids figure out what are they good at, what would they do, what is their dharma. And Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it is better to do one's own dharma imperfectly than to do somebody else's perfectly. Clearly, that meaning of dharma does not mean religion. So that is the broad definition of dharma. We are using dharma in both senses. Right? Thank you. Thank you. Am I out of time? Should I take more questions? There is one question there. One more I could take. Oh, Professor Pai, so nice to see you.
So I have a small comment and a question.
Absolutely, go for it.
Since I've been associated with Dharma studies for some time, just a small clarification. The Dalai Lama chair wasn't instituted by the Dalai Lama, but the Buddhist Studies Center requested the Dalai Lama, to institute a chair.
Okay.
Because I'm coming to something else, because we've also been debating this question of Dharma. So I'm a little curious about your characterization of indigenous religion.
Religions, plural.
Religions in the plural, because we've had more than 2,000 years perhaps of Christianity, or a little less. more than 1,000 years of Islam in this country. But when we speak of Islam, we only speak of Sufism. The question
I
is,
don't.
no, but in Dharma studies, these many years of its existence, is there a possibility to have a deeper engagement with the other religions that exist in this country?
Absolutely.
And not just Sikhism, which is relatively
No,
new.
I know what you're asking, and I hear you. Here's how I'm thinking about it at this point, and this is open to more conversation. I recently wrote up a paragraph, and I sent it to our chancellor and some of the senior leaders in the university, saying this is how I look at Dharma studies. And I can send that to you, and I would love to hear your critique and feedback for improvement. India is a contested case because, on the one hand, we do not have the first mover's advantage in religious studies, right? We are a post-colony. You and I belong to a generation where we are still trying to shake off the shackles of colonialism that bind our psyche. We haven't defined our identity as clearly and as powerfully as the Western world yet when it comes to modernity. But the Mehergar civilization goes back to the Neolithic age, 7000 BCE. We're also one of the most ancient civilizations. Now, when we talk about indigenous, we can ask those kind of questions. What is indigenous? Now, I have Pakistani friends, very good friends, who come and tell me that, in our school textbooks in Pakistan, we read or we study that civilization began with Mahmud of Ghaznavi. We do not hear about the Indus Valley, even though it's in our nation state, right? We are still grappling with those kind of issues. When some of our textbooks go to Dubai, and I have seen this with my own eyes, there are chapters that are blacked out. So history is a contested site for identities. And so we cannot answer the question you asked with as much clarity as a post-Enlightenment European thinker would say, talk about, the Anglo-Saxon battle, right? And the way we do history today is Rankian history. But if you look at the indigenous traditions of the world, history, as we understand chronological history with particular methodologies, is not how people did history. Itihas is not history, even though it's translated as such in the colonial period. Our ancestors imagined their past with methods and ways that were very different from Europeans. Our imagination is much more fertile, I think. In Western history, the fact that, for example, Barack Obama won the US election on 6 November 2008 is important. That date is important. In Indian history, God knows when, say, Sri Ram was coronated. But what is important to us is the life story, the struggles he went through, and the poetry of it. And so we remember our past through epics. And most ancient civilizations do. And the history that we have is a very 19th century phenomena, much like psychology, much like religious studies, much like engineering. And so to define a period of time that is indigenous to the land, when we are already in the long shadow of colonial history, I think, is a difficult task, right? And you and I can talk about it endlessly, and I don't think there is one monolithic answer to that, and there shouldn't be. And to conclude, one of my favorite authors, who was also one of my PhD mentors at the University of Chicago, is Dipesh Chakrabarty. He's one of the founding fathers of subaltern history, post-colonial studies. So a lot of my thinking has been filtered through, long meetings with him, right, at his home, at his office. And we spoke about the question of indigeneity. And recently I circulated an email on Republic Day on the meaning of Jana Gana Mana, our national anthem. Many of you might have seen it. If you haven't, I highly recommend and I request you to go online, go to YouTube, look up Dharma Studies online, and please subscribe, hit the like button, and watch out for more videos. But I said something in that lecture. It is an academic lecture based on my research that I've done over a period of like about a year and a half, where I said that the founding fathers of the modern nation state of India accepted the version of Rabindranath Tagore's song as the soul of Bharat, Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. They chose that song against Vande Mataram, because Vande Mataram was not considered secular enough. However, if you look at the whole song, all 5 verses of Jana Gana Mana, Tagore says in the 3rd verse that this song, like he said, very clearly, he dedicates this song to, and these are the words, He Chiro Sharathi, I'm a Bengali, so I like showing off some Bengali. He Chiro Sharathi Tabo Ratho Chakre Mukharito Ahodino Ratri Daruno Biplavo Majhe Tabo Shankadhani Baje Shankata Dukkho Trata Janagana Pathaparichayaka Jaya He Bharato Bhagya Vidhata. Right? And he translates that same song into English as the morning song of India. In dharmic traditions, a morning song is called a Mangalarati. Right? But he doesn't call it that. And in that verse, if you look at who is India's eternal charioteer, who finds himself in the midst of the most epic battle, resounding his conch shell and giving those Bharatiyas hope and fearlessness. Shankata, saving them from danger. Dukkho, distress. Trata, he saves them. Right? So, Tagore is envisioning an India where Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Utkala, Banga, Vindhya, Himachala, Yamuna, Ganga, and all the Uchala, Jaladhitaranga, the people who stay there, indigenous, non-indigenous, whoever came in, Taba Shubha Name Jage. They wake up to your holy names. Taba Shubha Ashishu Mage. They sing your glories. They seek your blessings in the morning. Gahe Tava Jaya Gatha. And in the 2nd verse he says, Hindu Bodhoshiko Jaino Padoshiko Musulman Krishtani Purava Paschima Ashe Tava Singhasana Pashe Premo Haro Hoye Gatha. So Hindu, Buddha, Sikh, Jain, Parsi, Musulman, Christian, everybody, they come and flank the 2 sides of your throne. And they wreathe together a garland of love and they offer it to you. Right? So if you look at how, you cannot call Tagore communal. Tagore was correct? Tagore was one of the thought leaders of India who cared very deeply about indigenous people. And so this is how, he dedicates the Jana Gana Mana song to India's eternal charioteer. I leave it to you to decide who that charioteer is. Right? But, you could call it communal, but I don't think Tagore is communal. And Tagore is pretty dharmic. But at the same time, he's so liberal, so broad-minded, that Hindus and Muslims could accept that particular song as the national anthem of India. And if you want to challenge it, please form your own government and change it. Not telling you, but... No, but that is what I answered, that indigeneity is included along with everyone else. Right? Am I taking up too much time, sir? Okay, thank you. Okay, he's kicking me off. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful, particularly to Professor Pillai, for leading us all. I believe in his mindful leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. A while back, we had announced that there will be a break for tea. Apologies on our part that we said that it would be a break for tea. We won't be serving tea. This tea is being served, but we will not be breaking for tea. So in case somebody wants to step out, have a cup of tea or coffee, we'll be continuing with the session, however.